All right, guys, we got the Elder Panthers up here. We've got, first of all, defensive lineman Mark McGeorge behind us. And we've also got two assistant coaches up here. We got Brandon Finke, the DB's coach, and we got Coach Al Grissner up here, the JV head coach, as I am trying to figure out how to work this mic. You might just share, guys. So let's get going here, guys. The Elder Panthers, really impressive season. I think there's so many things you could talk about that were very impressive. Two of the things I really look at, you guys had a rough start. I mean, 4 losses early in the year. Granted, they're very good teams, but still 4 losses. And when you guys play in big-time Division I in Ohio, it's hard to get into the playoffs, period, plus get a home playoff game. Yet you guys had a great turnaround, went on a great run, not only got into the playoffs, but ended up hosting a game. Coach, I'll start with you. How do you guys come back? How do you keep the players and come back and end up with such a great run at the end when it's so easy to fall off because you got 4 losses early?
You know, I think the best thing was our senior leadership. You know, guys like you, like Mark, McGeorge, Max Mazza, Josh Moore, Joe Ramstetter. You know, those guys led us, and they kept everybody into what we wanted to do. You know, our goal was always to be playing our best football at the end of the year, and we thought we achieved that at the end of the regular season to get that momentum, host the playoff game, and get to the second round.
Now, beyond the fact we talked about it was tough teams, looking at your average opponent winning percentage this year, 773. The average of your 12 opponents this year were 10-3. Couldn't play tougher competition throughout the course of the year. Coach Grissner, let me just ask you, talk about how, yeah, you lost the games early, but you build off of those experiences and you learn what it's like to play at championship level because you play such tough teams. In fact, beat 3 state champions along the way. Talk about that level of competition and how it helps build you as coaches and, you know, players as well.
It helps us as the season goes on to achieve our goals and get better as coaches and players. And we try to maintain that every year with good competition. So at the end of the year, we're playing a pretty good football team for the year.
Now, you mentioned several players not here, and we'd be remiss if we talked about this Elder season without talking about Max Mazza breaking the all-time receptions record. I know you're on the defensive side of the JV, but Coach, either one of you guys, how impressive. The record stood since the 80s to start with. I mean, so it's not, I mean, this record had been around. The game's evolved into a more pass-heavy game, and yet Max was able to break this long-standing record. I know I talked to him afterward. He was more excited about the win than the catch that day, which I think speaks volumes about him as a person. But talk about a career from him. I mean, what a great player and obviously a great leader on your team.
Well, yeah, he's been a 3-year starter for us, and he's just been a player that's just consistent. You know, he runs routes. He's not the fastest guy in the world or the tallest guy, but he runs his routes very precise, and he does exactly what he's supposed to do on every pass route, and sees the holes and knows when to sit, and knows when to just keep running. And you know, his hands are just, you know, very good, and that's what makes him a great receiver. And he's just a model of consistency. And he just doesn't drop balls. He just makes the catches, makes easy catches, and that's what he did. And, you know, his reception to break the record was an 80-yard touchdown catch. You know, in a game where we needed that. You know, with Sal, we're actually down, and we're fighting to come back, and he makes the catch to break the record for 80 yards. And that's just the kind of player he is. He's just that guy who made plays for us throughout his 3 years of starting for us.
Now, quickly, Coach, you're the DB coach. I'm sure he certainly helped you coach your guys up as the spring or the fall practices got going in the summer, getting ready. I imagine it helped your DBs by going against one of the best in the conference, getting ready for the season.
Oh, absolutely. You know, not just him, but Joe Ramstetter also. And Joe moves from tight end to wide receiver. Last year he played tight end for us. This year he goes to wide receiver. He's a 6'4", and he's as athletic a kid there is in the city. You know, he made that touchdown catch against Coleraine to tie it up, and you know, he just went up and got it. And we went against that every day in practice, and going against players like that every day, it just makes everybody better, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Joe was a monster in a couple of the games I saw. I think he had 3 touchdowns, near 200 yards in one of them. Let's talk to the big man up here, Mark McGeorge. Mark, one of our WCPO players of the week, and certainly congratulations on that. I remember talking to you the next week because you had such a good game, a big sack late. Talk about playing defense for the Elder Panthers this year, and you know, your experiences as a senior going out and what it was like being there.
Coming back from last year, we had a tough season, and Coach James and Coach Finke and Coach House have college for the game brought us back together, and we knew that we had the talent to do it, so we decided to go out there and do it.
Now, Mark, not making the playoffs the last couple of years, as a senior, it had to be added incentive to get past that hump, not be a class that went out without making the playoffs. You went on a great run. Talk about both the excitement and probably a little bit of relief to get into the postseason as a senior there.
Coach Ramsey told us that if we won our last 2 games, so we get a home playoff game. And for us, that was really big because we've been in playoffs last 2 years. So that meant a lot to the seniors, and they were supporting us, the pitching staff and everything. So I guess getting that home playoff game and getting that win at home for the first time in a while was really big.
No doubt about it, it's a big advantage there. I know one of the last games of the year I was there, it's pouring down rain. I'm in 20 layers of clothing. The entire student section is jumping up and down like maniacs shirtless. I mean, they were as loud as you could imagine on a night when all I wanted to do was go home and get inside. What a great environment. Now, Mark, you've got a special eye view on 2 of the guys that are going to be up for our Offensive Player of the Year. Greg Simpson, who you played against in your last home game, and of course Chris Shore, who you saw watching from the sidelines. Talk about, one, seeing Chris in practice, and we'll get on to Greg with the next section, but let's talk about watching Chris play and really the emergence he had in the second half, started getting practically 200 yards a game.
Well, Chris didn't start the season for us, but when he did come on, he ran the ball hard every time, and it seemed to like, at least take 4 or 5 bends, bring him down, and he lowered his shoulders and just put the ball in the back, so it was really hard runner, and it's had a lot of big games, a lot of rushing yards for us, so he carried the offense for us when we needed it.
Yeah, no doubt Chris will likely be a front runner, be back there next year as Player of the Year candidate, as will Greg Simpson, a great junior season as a quarterback. Talk about that battle you guys had in the playoffs, your last home game win, and I mean, he was amazing. You guys were offensively amazing. Talk about being on the defensive side of that battle, just striving to make plays against a great athlete.
Well, I knew that we had to get some pass rush on going, and every time it seemed like we scored and get out field score, it would take 1 or 2 plays for them to score, so I knew it would come down to like 1 or 2 stops, and we ended up winning the game, but yeah, he's a hell of a player.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I've been going to high school games for practically 20 years, and that was one of the best high school football games I've ever been witness to. I had a great time there. It didn't matter if I was there covering it. Just as a fan, there's no way I was leaving. Guys, let's give it up. 8-4, a great second half. The Elder Panthers.